Hey, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday morning here on Motivated Strength. I'm your host, Schulz. We do this show so that you can start your day in a motivated, positive way. That way you can take on life's challenges as they are, but more importantly, as you are right now. Now, if you happen to be new to the show, I certainly appreciate who it is that you are, and I value your opinion and your time spent. For those who might be subscribing to the show, you might have noticed we moved to the Speaking the Heart Radio Network. The reason why is because the Speaking the Heart Radio Network is all about restoring purpose and passion of those who need it most. What better way of showing Motivated Strength Live to our fans? Okay, so Motivated Strength is brought to you by the Speaking the Heart Radio Network, and we're talking about challenges and struggles, right? We're talking about things like chronic pain, chronic illness, mental illness, maybe life experiences that you just can't let go because, it just doesn't seem fair. And I get that. I've been there and I've done that. So when we're going through these challenges and the struggles that we go through, well, we end up having a mindset, right? We end up having a mindset that kind of sets us back sometimes. Sometimes you'll find yourself stepping forward maybe one step, but then taking two steps backwards, right? Well, the idea here is to do what I call the optimal frame of mind. The optimal frame of mind is a higher way of thinking. That higher way of thinking will lead you to a higher level of living. Let me say that again. The higher way of thinking will lead you to a higher way of living. Isn't that what it is that we're all looking for in the first place? You see, I know that there's different challenges and struggles. I know that there's pain. I know that there's illness. And I know that there's a lot of stigma that's out there. I get it. I've been there and I've gone through it myself. What we're trying to do here is that we're trying to empower you to be more than those challenges, to help you reach your goals, to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish despite what it is that you're ill by. Again, by utilizing the optimal frame of mind. Now, today we're going to be talking about what we've been discussing all week long, and that is new beginnings. New beginnings. Remember I said from Monday, I told you that, a lot of people had the impression that there was something wrong because we weren't doing the show on a daily basis with Motivated Strength. But I've got to tell you, it wasn't the case. We actually were improving things. We were actually taking it up to another level. Remember on Tuesday, we talked about how it is that, you have to close the book. Remember, it started out, close the chapter, but then I changed it. I said, no, let's close the book and start a new book. In other words, let the past be the past so that you can start your new future. Well, let's talk about today. Today being Wednesday, we're going to be talking about letting the past go. See, that's something that is very difficult to do, right? It's tough to do because it's something that's kind of ingrained in us. It's actually made up of who it is that we are sometimes, if we allow it to. Now, is it always accurate? That's the question. The answer is no, it's not. Because we feel a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a factual way of things that are going on. Sometimes we feel a certain way, and it might not be what it is that's related to what you have been through or what you are thinking and feeling. You just might feel a certain way because of your experiences, because of what it is that you might have gone through. When you go to your doctor appointment, let me ask you a question. When you're dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness and you go to your doctor appointment, do you already have a perception of what's going to happen in that appointment? Or are you keeping an open mind and a receptive mind to being able to find a solution? Remember, I always talk about how people need to step into their solutions and stop tripping into their problems. See, when we're going through our challenges and struggles, it's easy to have a perception of what it is that's going to happen. That's because it's ingrained by us, by our past. It's ingrained by what our experience is. So when we're sitting there and we're going through the things that we're going through and we feel familiar to what it is that we did before, then we kind of act in the same exact way. I could give you an example of my own experience. I was in the hospital at one point in time, and the doctors gathered around me and they said, you're awfully comfortable in your depression. Well, I got to tell you, it was a real tough time for me because I wanted to absolutely scream because I knew that I wasn't comfortable in my depression at all. In fact, I had made an attempt to take my life 2 days ago. So when that happened to be the case, That didn't seem like it really made any sense, right? Well, I knew that this was going to be the situation, so what I decided to do was I went to my home and I said I was going to change things. I was going to change the vocabulary in regards to being able to talk about mental illness, be able to talk about depression, be able to talk about PTSD, be able to talk about, codependency, these types of things, and develop a different vocabulary. And what I realized was, no, I wasn't comfortable at all in regards to my depression. In fact, I wanted to take myself right off of this damn earth, but I was very familiar with it. Does that make sense? See, can you be familiar with what it is that you're going through? I mean, when you're dealing with things like fibromyalgia, things like multiple sclerosis, things like depression, things like PTSD, it's real easy to get into a pattern of what that's all about. It's real easy to get into that pattern of what is about to happen due to the fact that you have this challenge in your life. Now, the question is, what's your perception? What are you doing in order to help yourself get out of that pattern or get out of that cycle? You're going to hear me talk about cycles and patterns a lot because I believe that it's a very big part of our pain. I believe that it's a very big part that is keeping us stuck. I believe that it's a very big part that is keeping us from being to accomplish what it is that we are meant to be, as opposed to who we might merely exist to be sometimes. So when we have a perception, we need to be able to say, all right, look, this is my perception, but maybe I might want to look at it a different way. Remember, I talked about it in other episodes when we had a deck of cards. When you're sitting there and you're looking at a deck of cards on the face on, you only see one card. But when you fan out those 52 cards, when you fan them out just a little bit, all of a sudden you see a different perception. You see different possibilities. You see different probabilities. Because that is what's real versus our perception. Because our perception was it was only one card, right? Because it was looking at us straight in the face and it was only one card that we saw. We ended up having to look at things from a different angle. We ended up having to fan things out to be able to see things differently, to be able to have a different perception, to be able to have a different feeling, to be able to have a different way of being while we're going through our challenges and struggles. See, this is very, very important when we're dealing with these types of things. When we're dealing with chronic pain, when we're dealing with chronic illness, when we're dealing with mental illness, when we're dealing with life experiences, I get it. You're going to have people say, you got to get over it. You're going to have people say, you got to move on from it. You're going to have people say that this is simple or this is not that bad. Is that true? No, it's not necessarily true. But then again, it could be. You just have to learn what the reality of the situation is. And how you do that is by having the perception of saying, I'm going to look at things from a number of different angles. I'm going to take my past and I'm going to say, you know what? It's the past. There's not a damn thing that I can do about it. So let's not let the past determine our future. Let's not let the past determine even our present. Because when we're sitting there and we're going through the things that we're going through, it's easy to fall into that familiarity of our past. Now, does this mean that you don't want to listen to your stomach or you don't want to listen to what it is that, like, say, for instance, PTSD, where it'll tell you to either flight, fight, or freeze? No, I'm not saying that. It's going to do that, and I get that. That's part of the challenge. But my job here is to help you be empowered to be more than those challenges. I'm not saying you're not going to have the challenges. I'm not saying you're not going to have the pain. I'm not saying that you're not going to have the chronic fatigue. I'm not saying you're not going to have those things. What I am saying is that the perception is so very important to be able to make a difference in our lives, despite what it is that we're ill by, to be able to empower ourselves to raise it to another level, to be able to crash through the ceiling, to find the next floor, to find the next way of being able to be who it is that you're meant to be, as opposed to who you might merely exist to be. Listen, we do this show Monday through Friday. We do this show so that you can start your day in a motivated, positive way. That way you can take on life's challenges as they are. But more importantly, as you are right now. Now, in order to do that, I need to know what's going on with you. What's keeping you stuck? What's keeping you, from being able to accomplish what it is? Are you having some troubles with your perception? Are you having some troubles being so familiar with your past? Are you having some troubles being familiar with what it is that you remember things used to be versus what they are now? Is that a possibility? Because if it is, then we can work on that together. See, it's not about me, myself, and I just talking here in front of a camera. It's a community. Together, we are going to empower each other to be more than the challenges that we face so that we can take on life's challenges as they are. But even more than that, we can be something extraordinary. We can be something that is outstanding of what it is that we might even think of because of what it is that we're familiar with right now. See, together we can do this. We can bring ourselves to another level, and that is what Motivated Strength is all about. Listen, I hope you all have an extraordinary day. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, okay? It's more important for the comments because that allows me to interact with you. Let me know what it is that we're doing in a way that's being helpful for me or for you. Let me know what would actually help you out a little bit more, or what topic do you need us to talk about. I want to know from your value, from your opinion, so that we can make a difference. It's all about learn, improve, share, so that we can bring it to another level. Listen, I hope you have an extraordinary day. We'll talk to you again soon.